wabarakatuh. Good morning, may peace be upon all of us. His Excellency, Bapak Dr. Honoris Causa Hasto Wardoyo, Medical Doctor, Obgyn Specialist and Consultant, the Chairman of National Population and Family Planning Board of the Republic of Indonesia. His Excellency, Mr. Belmiro Jose Malate, the Ambassador of the Republic of Mozambique to Indonesia. Excellency, Mr. First Consular, Mr. Jose Pedro Lucas Matenga, from the Embassy of Republic of Mozambique. The Honorable Bapak Profesor Muhammad Rizal Martua Damanik, PhD, Deputy Chair for Training, Research and Development of the National Population and Family Planning Board of the Republic of Indonesia. The Honorable Bapak Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, the Director of African Region of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia. Distinguished Finance Director of British Standard Institution or BSI Indonesia, Mr. Kusuma Wijaya. The Honorable all dignitaries of BKKBN, both central and provincial offices, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of State Secretariat, Ministry of National Development Planning Agency, University, civil societies, organization, mass media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to convey our gratitude and welcome all of you to the event of Ambassador Talks, a friendly talks with the ambassador. First, allow me to begin by introducing myself. My name is Ukik Kusuma. I am the head of International Training and Collaboration of BKKBN, and I will be the host for today's event. Beforehand, we would like to check whether you can see or hear our voice from your laptops for those who following by virtual. If yes, please give us a thumbs up response. Okay, thank you. Yes. And if there is something with the voice, please let us know through chat box. His Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today's event, namely Ambassador Talks, it is an event activity initiated the Center for International Training and Collaboration of BKKBN. This activity is a part of an effort to showcase and disseminate of the Bangga Kencana program, or Family Development, Population, and Family Planning program to our foreign counterparts, as well as to explore potential collaboration between BKKBN, the government of Indonesia, with its foreign partners. Before we start, please allow us to explain how participants could communicate with us during presentation. All participants could submit text question to our guest speakers through Slido link provided in the chat box. You may send your question at any time during the presentation. We will collect and address them during the question and answer session. And please do not forget to put your name and your organization. The link of attendance to get the e-certificate and materials of this event will be shared at the end of the session. His Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first, we would like to take a picture for all participants for this virtual meeting for the purpose of our documentation report. We would like to request all of you to kindly open up your camera screen and turn on your camera at your laptops. Now we have around 200 participants. So there will be around 3 times taking picture slots. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let's start now. I will take a countdown from 3, 2, 1 and action. Okay, let's start now. 3, 2, 1, action. Okay, another slots. Yes, please be prepared. 3, 2, 1, action. Thank you. And the last slot now. Please be prepared, ladies and gentlemen. 3, 2, 1, action. Yes, thank you very much. His Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take this opportunity, firstly, to announce the achievement made by the Center for International Training and Collaboration, or PULIN BKKBN, in achieving the accreditation and certification of ISO 901 version 2015 on quality management system. This professional certification reflects the commitments of the Center for International Training and Collaboration to provide a consistent improvement of service quality, effectiveness, and productivity of the program of international collaboration, training, and education. This ISO certificate is international standardized, given by the PT BSI Group Indonesia as a company that has the authority to issue ISO 9001 version 2015 on the quality management certification with the provision made by the International Organization of Standardization, or ISO, based in Geneva, Switzerland. The handover of this certificate, we would like to kindly invite Mr. Kusuma Wijaya, the Finance Director of PT BSI Indonesia, to come forward. And we would like to invite Bapak Profesor Rizal Martuada Manik, PhD, the Deputy for Training, Research, and Development of BKKBN, to receive the certificate. Professor Rizal Martuada Manik, please step down from the stage to receive the certificate, and please the committee to take the picture. His Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we are coming to the opening of the Ambassador Talks. We would like to request the honor to invite the Chairman of the National Population and Family Planning Board of the Republic of Indonesia, whom will be represented by His Excellency Bapak Profesor Rizal Martuada Manik, to give his welcoming remarks and officially open this event, and then directly followed by delivering his presentation on the effort of the government of Indonesia in reducing stunting and exploring future collaboration. Bapak Profesor Rizal Martuada Manik, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Ruki. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all of you. His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Belmiro Jose Malate, Ambassador of Mozambique to Indonesia, Honorable Mr. Jose Pedro Lucas Matenga, Vice Ambassador of Mozambique to Indonesia, please allow me to read the welcome remarks from our chairman, Dr. Hastowar Doyo, who cannot attend with us at this moment. His Excellencies, Mr. Belmiro Jose Malate, Ambassador of Mozambique to Indonesia, Honorable Mr. Jose Pedro Lucas Matenga, Vice Ambassador of Mozambique to Indonesia, Professor Rizal Damanik, Deputy for Training, Research and Development of BKKBN, Madya official high leaders of BKKBN official, Bapak Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak from Directorate of African Region, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, dignitaries of BKKBN board, central and provincial offices, Ministry of State Secretariat of the Republic of Indonesia, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Ministry of the National Development Planning of the Republic of Indonesia, universities, civil societies, organizations, media, distinguished guests, colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, may peace be upon us. In this occasion, let us express our gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, God Almighty, for the blessings and benevolence that have allowed us to converge virtually in this event. I'd like to convey my heartfelt gratitude to His Excellencies Mr. Belmiro Jose Malate, an ambassador of the Mozambique to the Republic of Indonesia, and Bapak Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, Directorate of African Regions, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, for the support and participation in these knowledge sharings and exploring future collaboration, especially to reducing stunting in Indonesia. And of course, to all people who have participated and made this event possible. This is a glorious moment, and I wish to extend my warm welcome on behalf of the National Population and Family Planning Board of Indonesia, or BKKBN, to this event, namely the Ambassador Talk, with the theme Diplomacy Policies and Potential Collaboration between Indonesia and Mozambique in the field of population, family planning, reproductive health, family development, including stunting reductions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, reducing stunting is part of the Sustainable Development Goals. Ensuring proper nutrition is key to optimizing the health of girls, pregnant women, mothers, and newborns. Thus, interventions should be planned according to the human life cycle, including pre-pregnancy period. Inadequate nutrition for pregnant women can result in adverse maternal and child health outcomes, such as maternal deaths, premature births, miscarriages, malnutrition, and other health risks, including stunting. Therefore, early interventions targeting women and adolescent girls, especially those who are in vulnerable position, is critical. As we know that one of the top priorities in the field of human development set out by the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Joko Widodo, is reducing stunting. Knowing that the country's stunting prevalence rate is high at 27.7% in 2019, the government intends to lower it to 14% by 2024. These targets reflects Indonesia's unwavering commitment to reduce stunting, to achieve the targets of SDGs 2.2, to eradicate all types of malnutrition in children under the age of 5, including stunting. Stunting is the threat to human resource quality, and Indonesians' fundamental homework is to elevate the quality of its human resources. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the issues of stunting in Indonesia become one of the national priorities stated in the Medium-Term Development Agenda 2020 to 2024. It emphasizes convergent policies to increase the access to and quality of specific and sensitive nutrition interventions. The focus of areas proliferates, gradually reaching all cities, municipalities by 2024. It is a sector-wide approach involving 24 central government sectors, local governments, non-government organizations, private sectors, and others. Various interventions for direct and indirect causes of stunting is also needed. The interventions for the direct causes include, first, supplementary feeding for pregnant women and the poor. Second, iron supplement for pregnant women. Third, breastfeeding promotion and counseling. Fourth, malnutrition management. Fifth, growth monitoring and promotion. Meanwhile, the interventions targeting indirect causes of stunting include, first, improve the provision of drinking water supply and sanitation. Second, improve access and quality of nutrition and health services. Third, increase awareness, commitment, and parenting practices and nutrition of mothers and children. And fourth, increase access to nutritious food. In early 2021, the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Joko Widodo, has mandated BKKBN to be the executive in leading the acceleration of stunting reduction program in Indonesia. This mandate then ratified by the Presidential Regulation number 72, year 2021. The target intervention focused on adolescents or pre-conception care, pregnant mothers, and postpartum, and children under the age of 5. A national strategy and action plan has been also established with other supporting tools to implement the mandate. Program initiatives has also been developed, such as Dashat, a program initiatives of a healthy kitchen to overcome stunting through community empowerment activities targeting pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, children under 5, prospective brides, and families with a high risk of stunting. Excellencies, distinguished guests, and participants, we understand that there are many variables involved that affect the degree of stunting reduction. Therefore, the target would not be achieved without help of various parties. To achieve the target require reciprocal vertical and horizontal efforts of the government and the public. Collaboration and support from international partners is also required to exponentially propel the speed to achieve the 2024 deadline. Finally, allow me to express my deep appreciation for the cooperation network that built between BKKBN and Embassy of Mozambique. On the nutshell, BKKBN welcomes all supports, especially those that are direct to the community. May the Almighty continue to bless us all with success and good health. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Chairman of National Population and Family Planning Board of Indonesia, Dr. Hasto Wardoyo. Thank you. Okay, according to the agenda, the next session is my presentation actually. So with your permission, I would like to continue about my presentation. And the topic of my presentations, can we have a slide, please? Okay. The title of my presentation will be about the effort of the government of the Republic of Indonesia in reducing stunting and exploring future collaboration. Maybe Mr. Ambudsanda, His Excellency would like to see the presentation. You can see it. Yeah. You have a great view, actually. And then at the discussion, we can go back here. So this is the title of my presentation, about the government of the Republic of Indonesia in reducing stunting and exploring future collaboration, especially with the Embassy of the Mozambique. Honorable Chairman of BKKBN, His Excellency Mr. Belmiro Jose Melate, Ambassador of Mozambique to Indonesia, His Excellencies Mr. Jose Pedro Lucas Matenga, Vice Ambassador of Mozambique to Indonesia, the distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends, ladies and gentlemen. In this occasion, allow me to present a presentation with the team effort of the government of the Republic of Indonesia in reducing stunting and exploring future collaboration. Slide, please. The outline of my presentation is as follows. First, global commitment, and the second is stunting in Indonesia, and the third, effort to accelerate stunting reduction and prevention, and the fourth, collaboration offered to involve and contribute on the acceleration of stunting reduction program in Indonesia. Next slide, please. So we can see from this slide that in 2012, the World Health Assembly approved a comprehensive implementation plan on maternal, infant, and young child nutrition that identified 6 global targets related to priority nutrition outcomes to be achieved by 2025. Further, among 17 targets of the Sustainable Development Goals established by the United Nations in 2015, the goal number 2 is aimed to achieve zero hunger by 2030. This goal also focuses on reducing malnutrition and stunting by improving nutrition of all people. Next slide, please. So this is stunting condition in Indonesia. Next slide. So according to Indonesia Basic Health Research Data, or RIKASDAS, the stunting rate in Indonesia has decreased from 37.2% in 2013 to 30.18% in 2018. Then it continued decreasing to 27.7% in 2019. However, the prevalence is still relatively high if compared to the World Health Organization standards, which is at the 20%. In 2021, the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Joko Widodo, has been mandated BKKBN to lead the stunting reduction program in Indonesia. The President targeted to reduce the stunting rate to 14% by 2024. It means that to achieve the target, Indonesia needs to reduce the stunting rate at 2.7 to 3% each year from 2019 to 2024. Indeed, this target is not a simple one. However, it is possible to be achieved as long as all parties involved have a high commitments, good coordination, and take a concrete action to accelerate the stunting reduction in Indonesia. Extraordinary actions also need to be taken. It is not only to achieve the target, but it will determine the quality of Indonesian human resources in the future. Next slide, please. So these slides show us that we can see that there are significant regional differences. Subsequent studies found that in some locations, the rate of stunting in children reached 42%. three provinces with the highest prevalence are North Nusa Tenggara Timur, and then West Sulawesi and North Nusa Tenggara. Among 34 provinces, only 4 provinces that are in the medium level. Next slide, please. So here are some challenges in Indonesia that increase the risk of stunting in children, such as pregnant women with anemia, low birth weight and length, cases of premature baby born, child marriage, and birth spacing. You can see that all factors that increase the risk of stunting is still high, such as premature baby born with 675,000 cases, and birth spacing less than 24 months with 663,000 cases. To reduce stunting, it is also important to reduce problems that may increase the risk of stunting. In the left side of this picture, we can see the figure illustrates the fetal nutrition is an important link between poverty and the development of human capital. It shows that low birth weight babies without catch-up growth because of a lack of appropriate interventions will develop into stunted children and become adults with reduced human capital. Next slide, please. So the following slide will show us about the effort to accelerate stunting reduction and prevention. Next slide, please. So stunting reduction is a national priority of the government of Indonesia. It is directly led by the Vice President in an advisory role and Vice Chairman of the National Population and Family Planning Board, or BKKBN stand for Badan Kependudukan dan Keluarga Berencana Nasional, as the Chief Executive. We work in close coordination with the National Development Planning Coordinating Ministry for Human Development and Cultural Affairs, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Vice President Secretariat. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, to achieve the target to accelerate the stunting reduction to 14% by 2024, Indonesia has established a national task force on stunting reductions, which form from the central to village level. This team has role to coordinate, synergize, and evaluate the implementation of the acceleration on stunting reduction in their areas. Next slide, please. So the national strategy for acceleration of stunting reduction serves as the primary framework for all elements of the states. We implement 5 pillars consisting of: first, strengthening leaders' commitment and vision at ministries, institutions at the central, provincial, district, and village level. Second, improving behavior change, communication, and community empowerment. Third, strengthening the convergence of nutrition-specific and nutrition-sensitive interventions. Fourth, improving food and nutrition security at the individual and family and community levels. And the 5th pillar is strengthening and developing systems, data, information, research, and innovations. To implement, we have also developed a national action plan. The national action plan consists of activities which prioritize at least on: first, data provision of family with risk of stunting; second, providing assistance or guidance to family with risk of stunting; third, providing assistance or guidance to to prospective brides or married couple at the reproductive age. Fourth, family surveillance with risk of stunting. And the fifth, case audit of stunting. Next slide, please. So based on scientific evidence and Indonesia's situation, we have determined 9 powerful indicators for nutrition-specific interventions and 11 indicators for nutrition-sensitive intervention. These indicators of sensitive and specific interventions written in the Presidential Regulation number 72, year 2021 on the accelerations of stunting reduction. The target of those interventions focus on teenagers or adolescents, pregnant mothers, interval or postpartum mothers, and also children under 5 years old. We do realize that the most common bottleneck of program at the grassroots level is the delivery platform. So in year 2020, we provide a team-based assistance of high-risk family as our community referral systems. Next slide, please. So reorientation of stunting reduction is critical. Due to pandemic and our time limitation, we continue strengthening programs on 1,000 early days of life, plus ensuring pre-conception services in place. Next slide, please. So talk about the program initiative implemented by BKKBN. Some efforts that have been implemented by us, such as first, establish a task force for stunting reduction. Second, the 100 Professor Talk on Stunting, which has implemented throughout 34 provinces. The third, Ambassador Talks to gain knowledge and insight from international communities, which is expected to be beneficial to address stunting cases in Indonesia and to explore a form of grants distributed directly to the communities. Fourth, to have evidence base, we conduct research. We also collaborate with the partners in academia to do the research on stunting. Fifth, we also conduct various webinars activities involving communities until the grassroots level. Sixth, we are also currently conduct training for provider. The seventh, exploring potential collaboration with both national and international partners. BKKBN have also signed some MOUs, Memorandum of Understandings on Stunting Reduction Program, and we also currently in the developing of Dashat, a healthy kitchen to overcome stunting. Next slide, please. This is a little bit of information with regard to the Dashat. Dashat is a community empowerment activities as an effort to fulfill balanced nutrition for families at risk of stunting, such family who have prospective brides, pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, stunting under 5 years of age children, and under 2 years of age children, especially those from underprivileged family. Dashat will use local resources, including local food, combined with the resources or contributions from other partners. The objective is to improve the quality of the nutritional intake of the community as an effort to accelerate stunting reduction rate through a convergence approach at the village level, Kampung KB, or Quality Family Village, developed by our office, BKKBN. So the locus of the intervention is at the village level, especially those with a high number of stunting cases. We targeted that each village will have at least one dashat. Next slide, please. So the outcome of the dashat is the first to fulfillment of the nutritional needs of stunting children, pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, and families at risk of stunting. The second, families has knowledge and skills in preparing healthy and nutritious food based on local resources. And third, family welfare improvement through involvement in a community business groups. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, next I'm going to talk about the collaboration offered to involve and contribute on the acceleration of stunting reduction program in Indonesia. Next slide, please. These are some concrete action and contribution that currently we need. Through this activity, we do hope that the country could also contribute to speed up the stunting reduction in Indonesia through mutual collaboration. Some concrete actions contribution can be taken in the form of a B2B collaboration scheme, which targeted adolescents, pregnant mothers, postpartum mothers, and children under 5. Contribution does not need to settle at BKKBN, but we encourage is directly distributed to the communities. For example, to support the implementation of Dashat program, we currently need the contribution in the form of nutritional products, supplement products, complementary products, management funds, education, and mentoring, supporting facilities, infrastructures, etc. Next slide, please. These are in detail contribution option for bride and groom babies in the first 1,000 days and pregnant women, and interval period consisting of specific and sensitive intervention. The specific interventions such as health and disease prevention, such as worm infection control, malaria prevention and clinical management, provision of bride and groom health checkup equipment. Second, providing supplementary food to overcome deficiency, chronic energy and protein, providing supplementation of vitamins such as iron, folic acid and calcium, providing supplementation or vitamins such as zinc, micronutrient, vitamin A, and food fortification of iron into food, and others. For sensitive interventions are related with the promotion, counseling, socialization, and prevention campaign, such as the importance of breastfeeding and nutrition counseling, sexual, reproductive, and nutritional health education for adolescents, stunting prevention campaign, access to clean and sanitation, women empowerment, and others. So that's all of my presentations. Once again, BKKBN welcomes all support, especially those which directly distributed to the community. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Professor Rizal Martua Damanik, for delivering your remarks and also officially open this event and also presenting your paper. And we would like to invite again His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, and also Honorable First Consular of the Embassy of Mozambique to come forward to the stage, please. Yes. His Excellency. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador Belmiro Jose Malate. His Excellency is the Ambassador of the Republic of Mozambique to the Republic of Indonesia. We are very honored to have him as our guest of honor and speaker for today's event. It is our great pleasure to see you, Mr. Ambassador. On this occasion, His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Belmiro Jose Malate will deliver keynote speech on sharing session of managing population, family planning, and family development program. His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Belmiro Jose Malate, the screen is yours.
Professor Rizal Dominic, Mr. Okik. I don't see my colleague here, Mr. Daniel, the Director of Africa for Minister of Foreign Affairs. Probably we'll see him on the screen later on, but I would like to extend my greetings to him. So, okay, thank you. I would like, first of all, to convey my gratitude for the invitation which has been extended to me to participate in this important event, where we are going to exchange views about issues related to population development, about family planning, and about family development. These are issues which are at the center of our efforts as governments, since we recognize that the most important factor in development is the human being. So we need to do the best we can to have the best quality of our population. But this implies that we have to deal with the issues which are, again, an impediment for us to promote a faster development. In my presentation, I will talk about, first of all, just give you a brief idea of Mozambique. I believe a lot of you don't know the country. The second, I was intending to talk about issues related to population and development, as well as in the population policies, which are summarized in my slides. But in the interest of time, and also taking into consideration that I'm talking to an audience who is very familiar with the topic, so I don't want to bore them with the theoretical concepts. So I'd rather focus on the population policies in Mozambique and the issues related to family planning. Next slide, please. Mozambique, as you can see, is a very long country with a coastal line of 2,500 kilometers, whose neighbors are Tanzania at the north, as you can see, and then you see Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Swaziland. We have the size of the country is about 800,000 square kilometers. I forgot to write that. And the population today is only 1/10 of the Indonesian population, 31 million. And our PIB is still at 15 billion. Exports are at 5.6, imports at 11, and the growth rate 2.9. In terms of economy, the country is mostly an agricultural country, but we also, I don't have that slide, but we also producers of petroleum products like natural gas. We produce coal, we produce aluminum, but we also produce we provide services to all interland countries. We have 3 main ports which services 6 countries in the region. So our location is quite strategic, and we thank God for having given us 3 ports which are very strategic also for the region. So in a nutshell, this is what I can say about the Mozambique. Now, please, next slide. Well, I believe we can skip this one because it talks about the purpose of why politicians intervene, or why governments have to intervene in population policies. We can go to the next one. And also the next one talks more about the relationship between population and development, where we emphasize that in modern societies, we recognize that controlling population size is important to ensure adequate provision of food, education, employment, and reduce pressure on natural resources. Next slide, please. In terms of population policies, of course, is a set of actions in the form of national policy or specific programs that we are approved by states to directly and indirectly influence demographic variables. The need to regulate the demographic dynamics by states depends on the real and the potential impacts that the changes in population size, structure, and composition on the socioeconomic development process that is on the population's well-being. And just to also note that, of course, the implementation of these population policies are faced with the challenges because they are not accepted by all or understood at the same level as the government. If we look at a country like Mozambique, where we still have a huge rate of illiteracy at 40% now. Just to give you an idea, when we became independent in 1975, the level of literacy in the country was at 93%. So we implemented programs to reduce, but we again had losses because we were involved in a 16-year war. So we lost all the gains which we had achieved, and now we are trying to go back to where we were. And of course, there are other issues like traditional beliefs, religious, mobility of the population, natural disasters. So there are many things many variables which impact on the challenges we face in this one. So to say that although Mozambique adopted its policy in 1999, since after independence, it had started implementing programs, especially to control the population, to reduce the infant mortality, to reduce maternal mortality, and also to control reduce the mortality, deal with the issues of fertility. But as a consolidated policy, it only happened in 1999. This was the recognition by the government of Mozambique that formulation and implementation of a national population policy should be an integral part of the national self-sustaining development strategy. The Mozambique population policies addresses 11 concerns to achieve 6 objectives. The first one, to guarantee the availability of reliable and up-to-date information on the situation of the population and human development in the country. And this in turn will facilitate the government to draw the necessary development policies. The second one aims to promote the systematic integration of the population issues into all policies and programs that seek to improve the quality of life. The third aims to promote multi-sector and interdisciplinary coordination in the design and implementation of intervention programs responding to the main national concerns about population. The fourth one, to contribute towards improving the life expectancy of the population, above all by reducing maternal, infant, and child mortality. Next slide. The sixth one, to contribute to a balanced distribution of population. The plan of action, a plan of action was developed 5 years later by the Ministry of Planning and Development, and all these concerns were integrated into 4 important pillars. One, the expansion of knowledge of the relationship between population growth and development, basically to do the advocacy so that people could participate and gain more knowledge on the issue. Guarantee of the reproductive rights and the reproductive health of the population. When we talk about the rights, is basically to say that in our policy,
Badan Kependudukan Keluarga Berencana Nasional atau BKKBN adalah lembaga pemerintahan non-kementerian yang berada di bawah dan bertanggung jawab kepada Presiden melalui Menteri Kesehatan.
Third one was to reduce
BKKBN
can skip that one because it's just a definition. Yes. Now in 2012, the government assumed political, financial, and programmatic commitments within the global movement of London communities. Family planning is a priority for achieving the sustainable development goals as set out in the government's guiding documents. So it means that we have realigned all the previous programs which we had in terms of family planning and family development with the Millennium Sustainable Goals, just like Indonesia did, as I had from the presentation which was done here. And it's our, in our view, the role of family planning has an important role for us to achieve the Millennium Goals. And in that, it's important that we eradicate poverty. It's important that there is zero hunger. We have to secure good health and welfare, affordable and clean energy, decent employment and economic growth, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible production and consumption, combat to climate change, and have appropriate partnerships that help us to achieve the goals. And we hope that is one of the things we are going to do with Indonesia. What is the government doing now in a very summarized manner? Our efforts are basically guided towards the assurance that the population has access to sanitary unities. In our country, the population is completely dispersed, is all over the country. So it's a challenge because you may find 100 people here, 10 families there. And so if to give them proper assistance, it becomes complicated. But the government is doing its best to make sure that wherever they are, they don't have to walk very long distances in order to have access to health facilities. We are also working with the communities through elementary polyvalent agents and other activities. And we are also using mobile brigades at schools, all this to disseminate really our population policies. Next slide, please. Mozambique is one of the Southern Africa countries with the lowest contraception prevalence rate. As you can see, we only have achieved 25%, whereas we have countries like South Africa, which is at 64%, and Zimbabwe at 64.7%, which means that we still have a long way to go in order to have more people involved in, using modern contraceptives. Please, next slide. The number of children per woman remains high on average. In Mozambique, one woman has at least 5 children. So this is another challenge we are facing. One in two girls aged 15 to 19 is a mother or is pregnant for the first time. And this is one of the biggest challenges because by cultural reasons, in most areas of the countries, the parents arrange marriages for young girls. They don't even have a say whether they want or not to be married. So once they are 15 years old, they mature as women, they encourage them to have a husband. And this has a lot of impact because a lot of them cannot go to school. They have children at a very young age. And because of that, as they continue, they have more and more children. 1 in 2 deaths among women aged 15 to 24 is from causes related to pregnancy. So this is again another challenge related to young age marriage. Also related to childbirth and abortions. Next slide, please. Contraceptive prevalence rates per province. This is just to give some statistics of what is happening throughout the country. So we can notice that there was an increase in the use of modern methods of contraception from 11 to 25 in every 100 women between the years 2011 and 2015. The next slide, please. The use of modern contraceptives in adolescents aged 15 to 19 years old is 14.1, and in young women aged 20 to 24 years is only 26.3%. Unmanned needs in family planning between 2011 and 2015 by age group. Actually, age group 15 to 19 years old with the greatest unmet needs, 26%. Next slide, please. And this also a slide just to say the trends of contraceptive use from 2016 with projections all the way to 2024. So it remains as main challenge. Next slide, please. It remains as main challenges for us increase access to family planning offers and modern methods of contraception, decrease the unmet needs for modern methods of contraception, continue to improve coverage of targeted interventions for adolescent youth. And in the context of COVID, next slide, please, reducing affluence to the sanitary units, fear and disinformation, availability of inputs, supply reduction, turnover limitation, prioritization, and discontinued community offer. But there is a big demand when it comes to the information, limited demand, myth and prejudices, emergency situations, level 3, influencing decision-making power. Now let's deal with the prospects. What do we envisage for the future? As prospects, we believe that the strength of partnership between government partners, civil society organization, the private sector, and the community in order to strengthen and improve the visibility of the actions of other actors in accessing and offering family planning and modern methods of contraception. Reinforce the need for active involvement of the entire community, individually and collectively, create foundations to demystify the demand and use of contraceptive methods by girls and women. Next slide. Promote safe and sexual reproductive health behaviors through the involvement of adolescents and youth in information and decision-making process. Promoting the search for and provision of sexual and reproductive health services as well as essential in the COVID times, so that in the future we do not have an overload of the health education, feeding with new births and the basic needs systems due to the rapid population growth associated to with the COVID challenges, the stay-at-home policy. Well, I believe I have given an idea of what are the efforts which the government of Mozambique is doing in order to reduce or to achieve a balanced growth of population and also development. And for the presentation I had from Dr. Rizai, we practically are dealing with the same issues, although with small variations. So this tells me that really is possible for us to have an agenda of cooperation. And in these terms, I'm looking at, of course, sharing of experiences. I'm looking at the area of research between the universities. And I'm looking at the area of training, because I believe your university is specialized in family planning and family development. So probably we can have Mozambican students coming to Indonesia to learn at your university. So this is what I would say in a nutshell. And as a closing statement, to say that family planning is quality of life, is the future. And in Portuguese, we say, muito obrigado, terima kasih, for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador Belmiro Jose Malate, for the insightful and amazing presentation on the family planning program achievement in Mozambique. And we would like to invite Professor Rizal Martua Damanik to come forward to the stage. Thank you. His Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we would like to invite the Honorable Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, the Director of African Region of the Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. On this occasion, the Honorable Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak will deliver remarks on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia on diplomacy policies and potential collaboration between Indonesia and Mozambique in the field of population, family planning, reproductive health, family development, including stunting reduction. The Honorable Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. I think now I'm being unmute. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, Professor Hasto, and those who represent His Excellency Professor Hasto, Professor Muhammad Rizal Damanik, Ambassador Belmiro, my friend, Mr. Jose Pedro, and if I'm not mistaken, also it's being said that Professor Carlos Arnold, though also is part of our discussion today. Colleagues, seniors, distinguished participants, thank you very much that Ministry of Foreign Affairs or KEMLU can be part of this discussion. And of course, for us, whatever it is to increase bilateral relations, especially with countries like Mozambique, it will be always in our dear heart. So thank you very much for BKKBN for convening this important meeting. For me, my task is only to complement what Professor Rizal Damanik and Ambassador Belmiro just mentioned, especially how we can see and to give a snapshot from the bilateral relations. Two issues that I would like to address. The first one is about our bigger picture, how to see Africa recently, even though it's a little bit hampered by the pandemic, but we believe it will be picking up again. It will be going faster again, our collaboration. And the second part will be more about bilateral relations with Mozambique. I think my colleague already prepared this, the presentation. If the moderator can allow her to share the screen. So the first part, for us, while maybe some of us do not know much about Mozambique, but Mozambique is our new rising star. I could say not only because in the presence of Ambassador Belmiro, but this is a fact of life, fact of diplomatic relations, that our relations with Mozambique is very good now. In terms of with Africa, next slide. In terms with Africa, there is a strong instruction from the president. We have to see and to convert our closeness in terms of political closeness into a more concrete economic collaboration. Some potentials in Africa, they have a huge, large young population. More than 62% of their total population are youth. So for us, this is not only for the current interests of Indonesia and African countries, but also Africa is our future source of food, energy security for Indonesia. Now, in terms of oil, our oil production is going down, and there is a big need for us to have more collaboration with Africa in terms of energy security, to have assets in oil, for example. Mozambique is very rich in gas. We still have gas in Indonesia, but who knows, maybe in the next 10 or 15 years, we might have more collaboration in Mozambique, even in the areas of gas. Mozambique is one of the largest producer for gas. Dynamic and promising potential market, middle income. So this is a same template, a platform like Indonesia. we are growing up, and Africa, the best yet to come, they will have a more middle income base sometime in the future. Even up to now, it might be more than 300 million people there. So of course, once we are talking about that, it will be coupled with the issue of population, in which the previous speakers, the experts, Professor Rizal Damanik and Ambassador Belmiro himself already mentioned about some challenges and opportunities in that area. Natural resources is like 30% of the world's uranium, 50% of gold, phosphate. Indonesia could not produce phosphate, but we can produce other things. Cobalt will be part of important material to ensure a global supply chain once the electricity, electric vehicles and others, a more green economy will use those kind of materials. And the last point is, while we have a more surplus with Africa, but we should not be complacent. Our value is still hovering around $7 billion. It's still a small fraction. There are more than 50 countries in Africa, so the value is not there yet, representing the potentials that we have. Next slide. Next slide. This is only some milestones. Of course, for KEMLU, we combine the foreign policy and other Indonesian interests. And of course, it will be a win-win interest with our brothers and sisters in Africa. For example, our platform, our footprint, they are already there since, as we know, Bandung Conference 1955. And then there are some other important steps that we are going together multilaterally. For example, in 2005, it's a big Asian African Summit, 2015. And I would like to zoom in to what we have recently. When I say recently, there are 2 or 3 events that we can see is more, I can say, a personal-minded or personal type of collaboration. We are going more details country by country, not only as a region. The reason why we want to be more concrete. For example, in 2018, we, for the first time, convened what we call it Indonesia-Africa Forum. Mozambique was one of the important players at the time. There are some business deals that we have. Of course, because of the pandemic, some of those business deals are stagnant, but we believe it will be going up again once the normal situation come back. Indonesia-Africa Maritime Dialogue, with the Ministry of Fishery, for example, we work closely. How we can help. Of course, we also work with Mozambique in the area of fishery, something that is also important for 2 countries and the region. And then in the area of infrastructure, we were convening in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, Indonesia-Africa Infrastructure Dialogue. So there are players for us in that area that are working in tandem with their partners in Africa. President clearly mentioned that we have to transform the political ties that we have built since 1955. It's a political commitment, it's a political meeting, into more concrete economic ties by promoting investment, reducing and eliminating trade barriers, and promoting technical cooperation. These are the lodestar, these are the guiding principle for KEMLU to work and to assure other entities, other stakeholders in Indonesia, working closely with Africa, in which in our case now is Mozambique. President also mentioned clearly many African countries' growth are above 5%. This fact and opportunity in Africa needs to be informed to all. So through this important meeting, I would like to inform senior officials in BKKBN with Mozambique. Maybe we have to brainstorm and we can think through what we can do together. I take note there are possible potential collaboration already being mentioned by Professor Rizal Damanik and also Ambassador Belmiro. Next. This is economic diplomacy. That's the focus of the given mandated by our president. There are areas, and now I believe the economic interest and focus that we are doing can be tandem with the other issues that will also make Indonesia and Mozambique grow stronger in the population, cooperation related areas. Next. These are some of the results. From this slide, simply we would like to say there are many potentials in Africa. From the issue of free trade, from the issue of capacity building, Ambassador Belmiro, we can see this also, the population from that. And even in the next slides, I would like to suggest that even we can bring more civil society participation. Maybe I don't want to use civil society participation terminology. We can use even the private sectors in order to help the government to have more, what you say, Ambassador Belmiro, research and data. The kick-off the PTA negotiations, and I would like to report to this important meeting. Our relation with Mozambique is very historical. And the first free trade agreement that Indonesia has with African countries, you name it, the Northern Africa, the southern part of Africa, the eastern part of Africa, the western part of Africa. From more than 55 countries in Africa, the first free trade agreement that we have is Mozambique. So according to our private sectors, Mozambique is the most important one in order to push export and import and collaboration. Mozambique is the most important one in terms of making as a hub for our products in Africa. And vice versa, Mozambique is one of the most important areas in order to collaborate for the economic interest and beyond. Next. This is also some examples. It works. We are late coming to Africa, but it's better late than never. Now we are a little bit being slowed down by the pandemic, but once it's slowing down once the pandemic only becoming the endemic, then we can see more how we can collaborate from many areas. Next. In the area of infrastructure, for example, not only the private sectors, also state-owned enterprises, they are also working there. Pharmaceuticals, financing scheme, that's also the biggest issue that we have. But at least we bring this to Africa, and hopefully we can see and be creative according to what we discussed today, what other areas that we can bring. Next slide. This is another example how our counterparts in the business sectors, they are more zooming in to Africa, including in Mozambique. Next. This is also another example. PT Wijaya Karya can renovate the palace of the president of Niger, not Nigeria, Niger. So it's nobody can predict at the time. And it's very rare if you find in the newspaper in Indonesia, but this is the fact of life that we can do more, not only private sectors, but also other stakeholders of Indonesia. Next. Yes, they are very close. The two, President Nyusi met with Minister Retno. I accompany foreign minister at the time. This is a historical one in 2017. From that point onwards up to now, this is only stronger and stronger. And the two presidents, when they met in Jakarta, President Nyusi and President Joko Widodo, they are committed to start negotiation of free trade agreements, and after that, many private sectors come in. Next. For business sector, the free trade is very important. Just to inform colleagues here, it opens up many products, it opens up many possibilities, and it brings more technical collaboration, technical capacity collaboration by Indonesia. Of course, our budget, the time is limited in terms of technical cooperation, but according to Bappenas, I've been informed, colleagues from Bappenas is also here. I'm just flagging with Mozambique. Hopefully Bappenas will also support for the more programs in terms of technical capacity building. That maybe the area of population can be one of the next targets in the future. Next slide. In the oil and gas, as part of the energy security, Mozambique is one of the important countries in Africa, and it's stable. Next slide. Now, I would like to focus on digital economy, and it might be related to what we discussed today. What we learned in the last 2 years during the pandemic, and also this is the experience of Indonesia, digital economy, digital platforms grow very fast in Indonesia in some areas. And this is like one of the locomotive for Indonesia to be still positive in terms of economy. I believe what we discussed today can be related to the digital issue. For example, according to our data, my team did a research, small research in Mozambique. We see a very good growth in terms of digital growth. More than 37% of urbanization and more than 50% mobile connection. Urbanization is really connected with the digital activities. The internet users is growing 25% and is still counting. The active media social, even though it's not as big in Indonesia, but it's growing. So the dissemination of information, like what we are having now, we have a special platform during the pandemic. Is very important. What is called Peduli Lindungi is checking the PCR test. It's a digital certification is there, and even Kemlu now is trying to make sort of interoperability Indonesian digital one, Peduli Lindungi. What that's the name, Ambassador, with other similar platforms in other countries. So in terms of health-related information, of course, upholding privacy, and according to our law, we can still share only those relevant information that will be good for the planner, for the decision makers to get the data. With Mozambique, we also see some possible collaboration, and there are some private sector in Asia. They are willing to work closely with Mozambique in the fintech, health tech. We got some phone calls and inquiries from countries in Africa, how we are doing the telemedicine, for example. And it's working very well during the pandemic time in Indonesia. And other areas that Indonesia can share with countries like Mozambique. And Mozambique has capacity and potentials to work with Indonesia in this area. Next. This is a snapshot of Africa with other segment of Indonesia. Kemlu is working with the digital mammoth, digital nomad, you name it, digital startups, angel investor in this area, to start seeing Africa as next growing internet economy future. When I say internet, it doesn't mean in the sense of economic purposes, but also we can make a relation with social issues, with the population-related issues, like what we are discussing today. It's big, huge, not as big as Asia, but is growing very fast. Next slide. For example, in Mozambique, Ambassador Belmiro already mentioned how many population Mozambique has. We have more than 37% population. Back, little bit, slide back, please. And then the mobile connection is big there. The internet users, more than 20%, is not really bad, it's growing. Also, we see the active social media is not as active as Indonesia, and Indonesia, the mothers in Indonesia, they are very active, but it's growing 9%, the same like Indonesia in the early time of digitalization, but it will be growing. What I would like to say from this slide is, Ambassador Belmiro, the decision maker, the philosophical kings, the issues of how the strategies have to be made and being drawn up. In Indonesia, we have a BKKBN and other related agencies. If we can connect with those partners in Mozambique and using this digital, it will be more cost effective. At this stage, it will be difficult for many Indonesian maybe traveling there or vice versa. But at least through the digital, we can do that. If the government is not ready, when I say government is not ready, maybe the government of Indonesia is not ready, or even the Mozambique government is not ready, we can bring up, empower the participation of the private sectors or other civil society. Next slide. This is only an example in Indonesia, the unicorns. We are not happy. Kemlu is also part of this. We are being pushed by our masters to be more active in the economic area. We have some unicorns, but we want to having joint venture, meaning win-win, profit-oriented with their partners, up, young, and hungry to work in the digital area with Indonesia. In this case, I'm seeing Mozambique. And we have a lot of untold stories of those, the new fintech and digital players in Indonesia that they are ready to work with other countries. Not all, but I know some of those individuals who are now in many discussions with their potential partners in Africa. Next. For example, I'm listening attentively to the previous speakers, and also I learned that even in Indonesia, for example, in the Ministry of Health, they just set up what they call it the DTO, Digital Transformation Office. Just recently, I accompanied my foreign minister to meet with the Turkish counterparts. Turkey is very advanced in how digitalization, their health-related sector, to have a data, including when we are talking now about stunting and others. So this area that we can work together. For example, one of the companies, they are checking the daily products, and these startup companies, they are being curated, being protected, or being financed by many angel investors. Even some of these angel investors are Indonesian state-owned enterprises bank like Bank Mandiri, for example. So this company is also under the wings of Bank Mandiri. So there are some solutions that we can work together and how we can see the pattern in many areas. Next. This is also some areas that we can work, and we have to bring the private sectors and civil societies to talk directly among them. And the government can be only the umbrella and push them gently to have a more concrete collaboration. Even in Indonesia, not all issues have to be tackled by the government. So we have to empower those individuals in order for us to have a good data. When we build Peduli Lindungi application, we are being helped by many civil societies and private sectors. At least it's not perfect, but we have a quite strong system to check the current situation in relation with the pandemic. Next. This is the joint venture in some areas of the health-related issues. Next. I just want to share one of the discussions that we have, the Kemlu had with Ministry of Health just 2 or 3 days ago. In the area that we are discussing today, that we learned the Ministry of Health of Indonesia is in the process of mapping stunting and other nutritional problems in Indonesia through digitalization of women and children health data. What we can brainstorm and go into details with Mozambique, for example, let's try to find and do the parallel simultan, whether we can do that first from the B2B, G2B, or G2G, or B2G, in which at least the G2G umbrella, and I can guarantee you, Kemlu in Indonesia is ready to facilitate this type of discussions. And what we learned from Ministry of Health, this even the digitalization can be also being participated by those who are ready in the position to do so, like the private sectors or civil society. So I look forward to receiving invitation from Ambassador Belmiro to talk more about this. And of course, in terms of those, the nerd, the scientists, the one who understand the issue of population related, of course, we will bring BKKBN and other related agencies. So this is one of the areas that even in Indonesia, we are starting to do that. Next. Just to see what we are doing in other areas in the maritime and fisheries. And I believe Ambassador Belmiro is aware also about this. We are working closely. If we can replicate in this issue of health-related issues, including the issue of how we can share our expertise in the effort to tackle the issue of stunting and other nutritional issues, Indonesia is ready to do that. Similar to what we are doing in the maritime-related areas. Of course, we can do the MOU, but I don't want that we only stop on the MOU. We have to be more concrete. Next. This is also in the other area. Like I said earlier, Mozambique is a darling of one of the very important countries for Indonesia in Africa. The two countries are walk the talk. We are very detailed. I know Ambassador Belmiro very well. He's a very concrete guy. So this is some areas that is being attributed, and because it can be conducted because of the hard work of Ambassador Belmiro and his team. Next. This is also the areas that we are working. For example, biopharma is already in Mozambique. I know there are some potential health collaboration. Maybe some of you might ask, what is the relation with the issue of free trade agreements? Wow. Free trade agreements unlock all other new ideas and enhance the trust and credibility of the two countries. They can do more concretely. And the issue that we discussed today, I can say is a part of the health cooperation that we can do together as well. And other social impact that are good for us to fulfill each of countries' target in terms of SDG. Next. This is also some potentials that we can work more in detail. The family planning, I don't want to repeat again. The experts already mentioned earlier. And the Indonesian aid can maybe use for that. But if we use this, it might be other areas that will be compromised. So that's why I might more suggest, let's bring the private sectors in this area. Of course, the data can be tied up by the regulation by the Mozambique government. So let's the civil society start work first. Once the government is more in the position to be more active, at least we are having some data that can be worked more in the future. Supply medicines, medical equipment. Also, there are other areas that we are now working, and we can work more in the areas of family planning and stunting reduction program. Next slide. Way forward, exploring, identification, and believe we can do more and bring more, not only the government-related agencies, but also private sectors and civil society. That's the recipe I believe we can do in this area for the benefits of Indonesia and Mozambique. Next slide. Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again, Professor Rizal Damanik. I wish I could see you in person, but virtually at least we already introduced ourselves. And also terima kasih to moderator, Ambassador Belmiro and other colleagues. Sorry if I take your time quite long, but I believe the reason is only for the intention of this meeting. Over to you again, moderator. Terima kasih banyak, Pak.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, the Director of African Region, the Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for the insightful and amazing remarks on the diplomacy policy between Indonesia and Mozambique. His Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, now in the next 10 minutes, we would like to proceed into the question and answer session. For the audience, please do not forget to mention your name and your organization and to whom your question to be addressed to. His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, Professor Rizal Martua Damanik, Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, there are several questions from the audience because they are very enthusiastic to join this meeting. We have here around 5 questions. 5 questions for His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Belmiro. Please feel free if you would like to share the response with Mr. First Consular of Mozambique Embassy, please. And 1 question for Professor Rizal Martua Damanik, and also 1 question for Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak. Let me start first with the first question for Mr. Ambassador Belmiro. Yes. First question for His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador. From Ms. Nelvia from BKKBN Provincial Office, how is the state of stunting in Mozambique? And what are the efforts made by your government in Mozambique in reducing stunting? This is the first question for Mr. Ambassador Belmiro. Second question for His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, from Mr. Sumarno, the BKKBN of Bangka Belitung Province. The religion in Mozambique is mostly Roman Catholics, followed by Muslim. Regarding the family planning policy, the one that you have already been presenting, would that be accepted by the people and those religious leaders? And what efforts the government has been made? This is the second question for His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador. The third question from Mrs. Ari Dwi from the Family Planning Office of Cimahi City, West Java. The question is, how is the role of the Mozambican community, and including the role of women, in reducing stunting in your country? The fourth question for His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador. This is from BKKBN headquarters of Jakarta. Does the government of Mozambique has a program for poor families with children as an effort to empower or to ensure their children meets their nutritional needs? That was the fourth question for Mr. Ambassador. And the last question for Ambassador Mr. Belmiro from Mrs. Endah from BKKBN Bengkulu Provincial Office. The question is, what has been done by the Mozambique government in terms of preventing early marriage? Yes. So we have here around 240 participants joining from Zoom and also from YouTube, around 160 participants. So that's conclude around about 400 participants virtually. Now we would like to proceed into question for Professor Rizal Martua Damanik. The question for Professor Rizal Martua Damanik from BKKBN headquarters of Jakarta regarding the Dahsyat program that you have been presenting. If we focus on providing high nutrition food for free of charge, can this effort or program be sustainable? This is the question for Professor Rizal Martua Damanik. And last question for Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak. For Mr. Daniel, according to you, which ministry in Mozambique that is responsible in family planning and family development program? Is there any possibility of the cooperation between BKKBN and the Mozambique government? That's one question for Mr. Daniel. His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, Professor Rizal Martua Damanik, you could respond those questions from your chair with the microphone. So for the first opportunity, we would like to invite the response from His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Belmiro. The floor is yours, Mr. Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much. I should say on the outset that I'm not an expert in population matters. So the questions you are posing to me tend to be all difficult. But I will do my best since I have accepted the challenge to be sitting here and trying to share what we are doing in Mozambique. I would leave the first question to the end. I'll try to deal with the other four first. The second question, which I didn't register properly, the name of the person who sent to me, Sumarnon, had to do with the issue, the fact that in Mozambique we have Christian communities and we also have Muslim communities, and how do they react to family planning? I should say that first of all, that the government has adopted a policy which respects the decision of the individual in what regards the decision to have or not children. That's the basic principle. According to their beliefs, their religion, or their practices, the behavior is different. Sometimes they will accept, in other cases they will not accept. For instance, in Christian communities, it's difficult to accept abortion. In Muslim communities, they also tend to believe that there should not be control of natality. So what the government does basically is to encourage them to adhere to those policies without imposing or forcing them to implement such policies to reduce natality. It's basically try to explain them the advantages of doing that. And if they understand, then they adhere to them, they collaborate. But if they are very conservative, of course, they will continue to be guided by the principles of their religion. The second is from Mrs. Ari, if I'm not mistaken. the role of Mozambique and the community in reducing stunting. Well, here we have a very big challenge. As I said before, our community is basically rural, most of them. Secondly, there is, they tend to be a high level of illiteracy in those communities. Thirdly, the traditions are still very strong, and the ancient beliefs. So it's not an easy task really to implement the stunning policies within these communities. But the government is doing its best in terms of trying to convince them. So in these cases, we try to work with the community leaders because the population tend to respect what their community leaders tell them or talk about. The second, we use also the religious entities like the priests, because they are also people who are highly respected by the community, and they are the ones who are really helping us to reach the communities and try to convince them to implement stunning policies. The other question was whether we have programs to support poor children. Well, in general, to start to say that Mozambique is still a poor country. And because of that, our ability to really deal specifically with the poor children is still difficult, in a sense that basically all children in Mozambique are poor. Very few are the ones who are in a better situation. But nevertheless, we have implemented, with the assistance of the World Food Programme, some initiatives designed to increase the nutrition of children. And one of them has been to offer some, what we call maybe a breakfast. We call it a breakfast where we try to give at least something for the children to eat, milk and other things, so that we encourage them. Actually, we better their nutrition on the one side, but it has also the purpose of encouraging many children to go to school, particularly girls, since they see that by going to the school, they have a chance to have a better meal than the one they have at home. There are also numerous non-governmental organizations who are working in the rural areas, trying to devise, work with the community and teach them how to improve nutrition. And we have, in some cases, provinces where, in fact, all what is needed to have a proper and nutritious food is available. But because of the way they prepare their food and the culture when it comes to eating, they end up suffering from nutrition. So we are trying to change that attitude. The issue of premature marriage is also another big challenge. As I said when I was doing my presentation, in the rural areas, it's very common that a child, when it reaches 15 years old, is encouraged to marry. Not really encouraged, but the parents will say, well, so and so from now on, is your husband, and you have to move and live with that family. That is an issue which we have been dealing with since independence, and we still have a long way to go. Lately, we have engaged the First Lady. She has been campaigning throughout the country to convince the population of the importance of preventing premature marriages, encouraging the girls to go to school, and also we are also implementing programs to encourage girls to stay, because in most cases they will go to school, they will do the primary education, and then they get married. So we are trying to encourage them to go all the way to university where possible. So there is quite a lot of campaigns which are being implemented by at various levels, as again using the community leaders, using the church leaders, using NGOs, using the government institutions, particularly the Ministry of Health, through the programs, the main programs they have. And well, in terms of stunting reduction, let me see if I can quickly find here something which I had prepared in case someone was interested in knowing a little bit more. So what I can say is that in 1980, the government approved a family program which had the intention to improve women's health, particularly those in a high reproductive risk, which is significantly contributed to a high rate of maternal and perinatal mortality, and also designed to reduce high rates of childhood mortality through the promoting of child spacing of at least 2 years. The implementation of the family planning program, of course, did not receive much attention in the 1980s and 1990s for 2 reasons. The country had a severe problem with the HIV/AIDS pandemic, and also had a serious problem with the malaria. So we tend to focus our attention to deal with this, because they also had a high impact in terms of mortality rates in all, I mean, for women, for children, basically in the whole society. We only restarted to deal with these issues from 1910. So in 2011, we adopted a family planning and contraception strategy. And in 2014, we adopted a plan to accelerate and to increase the use of family planning services and modern methods of contraception. And again, in 2015, we adopted another strategic plan for the health sector. And this plan was to increase of technical capacity of service providers in counseling and supply of long-lasting and irreversible planning methods. So these are some of the things which we have been doing in terms of trying to reduce stunting. I hope I was able to satisfy your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Belmiro Jose Malate, and also Mr. First Counselor, Mr. Pedro Jose Matenga, for responding those questions from BKKBN official. Thank you very much. And now we would like to proceed into the next question posed to Professor Rizal Martua Damanik. And the question is from BKKBN Headquarters Jakarta, regarding the Dahsyat program, the one that you have already presenting. If we focus on providing high nutrition food for free, can this effort be sustainable? Please, Professor Rizal Martua Damanik, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for the question from the
Headquarters,
the Halim, regarding the providing nutritious food. Will it be sustainable or not? You should consider first about the high nutrition
food for free.
Yeah, I think the Dahsyat, they use the terminology not a high nutrition food, but as balanced diet, and using local sources. So if we talk about the nutritious food, the potential that Indonesia has is very wide. As a tropical country, Indonesia is the second largest country in the world in terms of
Population.
sources from flora and fauna, including the sources potential for fish and processed products from the sea. So these natural potentials are raw material or sources of nutritious food for the communities. And through excellent understanding, knowledge of the people, and supported by the use of appropriate technology, the opportunity for sustainable consumption of nutritious food is very promising. And as I have explained before, that in its implementation, the main activity of Dahsyat is how to take advantages of the local potential available in its location in Indonesia. So the availability of raw materials or food sources as a local potential is certainly not as expensive as if the location does not provide nutritious food, raw materials. There's the support provided by the local government and also other supports from various parties, for example, a CSR program of the private sectors will certainly enable the continuation of the Dashat program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Rizal Martuada-Manik, the Deputy Chair of BKKBN, for responding the question from BKKBN Headquarters Jakarta. Now we would like to invite Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, the Director of African Region, the Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for one question from BKKBN Headquarters of Jakarta.
Thank you very much for the question from the BKKBN Headquarters. The first question they ask about with whom that the collaboration or the counterpart of Indonesian BKKBN can work with the Mozambique. I think for that part, I will leave it to Ambassador Belmiro. And that's a normal practice. Of course, it will leave up to our partner to decide and to check the substance of the possible MOU or other forms of collaboration that we would like to work with, whether it will be suitable with a certain ministry or something like that. But that part, Ambassador Belmiro will be more knowledgeable than us in this room. The second part, the second question is about what will be the concrete collaboration that we can work. The first one, I think, it will be BKKBN-led process, and it will be also we have to wait from the response from Ambassador Belmiro and his team, whether we can start from areas of cooperation and it can be formed through the MOU. I don't know whether, I'm sorry if I don't know whether there is an MOU already between BKKBN of Indonesia and its counterpart in Mozambique. But if there is not, then let's do that. I think there is no harmful to do that. And the areas of cooperation can be those things that we just discussed today. And I think it will be strategic if we can have this MOU, because for us Indonesia, BKKBN can compare notes with their counterparts in Africa like Mozambique, and then to check our own projects. And for Mozambique also, the content of this MOU or agreement can be also those areas, including but not limited to like education or share information or to work closely with other third-party collaborations. So this is a fully under the perusal of BKKBN headquarters and its possible counterpart. The second one, I see there is a possible collaboration from Indonesian side is BKKBN and Ministry of Health of Indonesia on whether next time we can share the experience of the result of what now they are growing up and having the effort to digitally map out stunting and other nutritional problems. So we can share our own experience, with other partners like Mozambique, and then it will be good. It will it's like a quantum leap for some countries. They don't have to start from scratch. They don't have to be like painfully following baby steps that we have. There are some areas that we can do the giant step to check and having the data, or using the terminology of the previous speakers, the research, something that we can do that. The other area, the leader can be the private sector and other civil society. So I will work with Ambassador Belmiro and our ambassador in Maputo. Let's bring our digital mammoth, digital economy player from Indonesia. For sure, we already have those who are interested in those, even maybe they are involved in drawing up that data, the Peduli Lindungi, or those data that will relate to other economic areas. And we just match them from Mozambique, what we just need. We don't need those players already in the digital area, but we just need those private sectors who have passion enough and want to see in the health related sectors, including the issue of nutrition and others. So this is a 3 stages and 3 players or 3 points that we can do as a way forward in the near future. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, the Director of African Region, the Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for your kind insight and also advice. Thank you. And as referred by Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, we would like then to invite again His Excellency Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Belmiro, which ministry in Mozambique, which is responsible in the field of family planning and family development issue. Please.
Thank you very much. Going straight to the question, to the answer. Yeah, the ministry responsible is the Ministry of Health. But we also have a department in our university which supports the Ministry of Health in terms of research. And so they are also an important contributor in terms of the development of policies, because they basically try to see what has done, what are the challenges, and they also suggest what policies the government should adopt in terms of population policies. The second issue, which was raised by Director Daniel, which has to do with cooperation. First of all, to thank him because he has basically listed a number of areas where Mozambique and Indonesia can cooperate, including the area of population and development, family planning, which I believe, again, here we can work to ensure that both ministries of health, they can have a memorandum of understanding to cooperate in these areas. But we can also encourage our 2 universities who are dealing with population issues to also sit down, have a memorandum of understanding, and collaborate, particularly in research and the development. In the area of vaccines, I should say that yes, we are already doing, have agreed at least to jointly test the COVID vaccine which Indonesia is developing. So Mozambique has accepted to participate in that process. But I believe there are other areas where we can also cooperate in this field. For instance, Mozambique has made a breakthrough in terms of developing a vaccine against malaria. And I believe this is also a challenge to Indonesia. Yes. So it's one area where it will be very interesting really to work together. We also, I know that there is also, apart from biopharma, we have Chemopharma also, who is working with Mozambique, yes. Parastatal, which is responsible for the production of medicines, where they are discussing also possible collaboration in building capacity for Mozambique to produce medicines. There are also a lot of initiatives in the area of digital technologies, where I know that through the Mozambique Indonesia Business Council, which is being established in Mozambique with the support of the Indonesian Embassy in Maputo, and also our support here in Indonesia. They have been working through some private companies to identify areas of collaboration. And I know that they are preparing an event which is going to take place probably soon, where they are going to basically discuss on how to collaborate in the areas of promoting business in various areas between Mozambique and Indonesia. So there is quite a lot we can do together. So what we need to do is to sit down, really agree on how we do it, when we do it, with whom we do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Belmiro Jose Malate, the Ambassador of Mozambique to Indonesia, for your kind comment, advice, and also information. Very useful. Thank you very much. And thank you to all guest speakers, His Excellency Mr. Ambassador of Mozambique, and also to the Excellency Deputy Chair of BKKBN, Professor Rizal Martuada Manik, and also Mr. Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Indonesia for answering those questions and also for the excellent presentation. Again, it was a pleasure to have you with us. Please give applause to those speakers. Thank you. His Excellency, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed into the closing ceremony, please allow us to invite Excellency Professor Rizal Martuada Manik to give a token presentation, token appreciation from BKKBN to His Excellency Mr. Belmiro Jose Malate, the Ambassador of Mozambique to Indonesia. Professor Rizal Martuada Manik and also His Excellency Mr. Ambassador and Mr. First Consular, Mr. Pedro Jose Matinga, could you please stand up and hand over the token appreciation? Please the committee to take a picture. Thank you very much, Professor Rizal Martuada Manik and also His Excellency Mr. Ambassador for the token appreciation from BKKBN. Now, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the closing session. We kindly request the Honorable Professor Rizal Martuada Manik, PhD, the Deputy Chair of BKKBN for Training, Research, and Development, to give the closing remarks. Professor Rizal Martuada Manik, the screen is yours.
So, His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Belmiro Jose Malate, and His Excellencies, Vice Ambassador, Mr. Jose Pedro Lucas Matega, and my colleagues from Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak, Horace Lay, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all participants of this event. So, on behalf of the National Population and Family Planning Board of the Republic of Indonesia, BKKBN, I'd like to extend my appreciation. His Excellencies Mr. Belmiro Jose Malate and His Excellency Mr. Vice Ambassador Mr. Jose Pedro Lucas and Bapak Daniel Tumpal Simanjuntak from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for your support and contribution in this event. So I also extend my greatest appreciation to our respected guests and participants. Counted about 3 up to 400 participants. Yeah? 400, both from the YouTube and also the Zoom facilities. Valuable contribution to this event. Appreciation to all officials involved, in particular to the Center for International Training and Collaboration of BKKBN and Organizing Committee for preparing this event. We will be happy to have a further discussion with the Embassy of the Republic of Mozambique on possibilities of cooperation on population, family planning, reproductive health, family development, including stunting reductions, and many aspects of that can be shared together. So finally, allow me to close my remarks by wishing all of you free success, good health, and future prosperity. With some of these notes, on behalf of the BKKBN, I declare the Ambassador Talk with the Embassy of the Republic of Mozambique with theme Diplomacy Policies and Potential Collaboration between Indonesia and Mozambique now is officially closed. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. His Excellency, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, that's all to wrap up all the session during the event of Ambassador Talks this morning. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant day. Stay healthy and see you again in the next Ambassador Talks event next month. Thank you very much. Obrigado, Papa. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Profesor Rizal Damanik, Ambassador Belmiro, and all. Terima kasih. Izin leave.
Recording stopped.
Hidup berencana itu keren. Hidup berencana itu. Mau traveling ke tempat idaman.
kita terlahir hidup di dalam dunia.
Ingat bahwa hidup harus
Memang jenuh hati ini saat kita mesti berjarak, mengurung diri, menanti semua badai yang berlalu. Tapi demi cinta semua pasti berlalu. Kini kita di rumah saja, berkumpul dengan keluarga. Jangan putus asa, lalui cobaan yang menghadap. Tapi demi cinta semua akan berlalu. Yakinlah pasti bisa kita lewati yang sedang terjadi. Semua cobaan ini menyatukan hati nurani. Jangan pernah menyerah. Ku yakin ceria akan kembali, bagaikan sang mentari cerah sinari. Yakinlah pasti bisa kita lewati yang sedang terjadi. Semua cobaan ini menyatukan hati nurani. Jangan pernah menyerah. Ku yakin ceria akan kembali, bagaikan sang mentari cerah sinari bumi.
Stunting